Hello students, welcome back to SGC online chemistry classes. This is lecture number 8. This is lecture number 8 on the topic states of matter. Well dear students, in the last video, in the last class, where you have come to know regarding the causes for the deviation of real gases from ideal behavior, followed by the van der Waals equation for real gas. So with the two corrections, namely pressure correction and volume correction, van der Waals gave out a new equation for the real gases called van der Waals equation for real gases for n moles of gas, and for 1 mole of gas we have concluded with the van der Waals constants A and B, including the SI unit of A, which is Newton meter raised to 4 per mole square, and the SI unit of B, which is called effective volume, whose unit is meter cube per mole. That was the discussion till the last class. Well, in the today's class, we go with the very important part which carries about 2 marks, with weightage of 2 marks, and the question based on that part has appeared over many of the examinations in the previous examination, and that is differences between ideal and real gases. That part is differences between in short, I have written ideal gases and real gases. Ideal gases, let me write in a column wise, ideal gases, differences between ideal gas and real gas. Nothing but non-ideal. Differences between ideal gas or a gases and a real gas. So this is a part which is a very important one. Differences between ideal gas and real gas. Come on, let's collect the first equation. First point. See, what is the first point of difference? Well, dear students, from the definition from the earlier discussion you come to know. What are ideal gases? The gases which obeys all the gas laws over a range of temperature and pressure. So that is what? They obeys gas laws. They obeys all the gas laws. Real gases, they does not obey the real gases. Gas laws. Come on, obeys all gas laws. Obeys all gas laws. So then what about the second? Does not obey gas laws. Gas laws. See, under a given condition of temperature and pressure, they obeys the gas laws. They does not obey the gas laws. Point number 2, second point. They obey the equation PV equals to nRT. Obey the equation PV equals to nRT. Ideal gases obey the equation PV equals to nRT. So here they not obey the equation, they does not obey PV equals to nRT. They does not obey the equation PV equals to nRT. Coming to the third point. So what is this? Here the actual volume of the individual molecule. The volume of the individual molecule is negligible in the case of ideal gases. So I write the volume of individual molecule. The volume of individual molecule is negligible. Is negligible in the case of ideal. And on the real gas side, the volume, actual volume of the individual molecule is not negligible, but instead it is considerable. So come on, what was said? Fourth point, the point number 4 says, there are no forces of attraction. But in the real gases, there exists a force of attraction. No forces of attraction between the molecule. Here, there exists a force of attraction. Exist forces of attraction between the molecules. So coming to the 5th point. So these cannot be liquefied. Ideal gases are only hypothetical gases, imaginary gases. No such gas exists around us in a real sense. So what is the 5th point? These gases cannot be liquefied. Ideal gases cannot be liquefied. So coming to the real gas side, they can be liquefied provided the temperature and pressure were maintained particularly. Can be liquefied. Coming to the last point, 6th one. So the ideal gases are imaginary gases. These are imaginary gases, which is an imaginary concept, I can tell you. The existence of an ideal gas is imaginary concept. In real sense, no such gas exists called ideal gas. Coming to the point 6, under real gases, all existing gases like nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide and other like ammonia, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide, all gases around us, all gases existing are real gases. All are real gases. So this is the part with the weightage of 2 marks in the examination, which has appeared many a times in the previous annual examination in the first PUC from this topic, which is with the heading of differences between ideal and real gases. See, I hope you may get one more question also. What are ideal gases? Or you may get what are real gases? Like that, a question may split in another form also. But whenever the distinctions or the differences were asked, you are supposed to write column wise. Then only you will get 2 marks pertaining to this. It is not necessary that you are supposed to mention all these points. As per the question, you will be asked maximum to write the 2 differences. So irrespective of the order, it doesn't mean that you should start with the first point only. Not so. You can write the last point in the first part as a first point. So irrespective of the order, when the question is being asked in the examination with write any 2 differences between ideal and real gases, out of these, and in the given printed notes also given, you refer it NCERT book point wise, these are the differences. Any of the 2 you have to mention, which carries you 2 marks. Come on, let me highlight once before I go to next part. So what are the differences between ideal and real gases? First point, ideal gases, they obey all gas laws under given condition of temperature and pressure. So coming to the next, real gases, they does not obey the gas laws. They obey at the particular conditions. Coming to the second, the ideal gases obey the equation, what is called perfect gas equation or ideal gas equation, PV equals to nRT, while this real gases, they does not obey the equation PV equals to nRT. Instead, they obey the Van der Waals equation. Instead of ideal gas equation, the real gases obey the Van der Waals equation. Next, third point, the actual volume of the individual molecule is negligible in the case of ideal gases, and it cannot be negligible but is considerable in the case of real gases. Coming to the point number 4, there are no forces of attraction. As ideal concept, no forces of attraction exist or operates between the molecules in case of ideal, but here there exists a force of attraction, that too under high pressure conditions. Coming to the next point, because of the existence of forces of attraction, so real gases can be liquefied easily. They can be liquefied easily. You can get carbon dioxide, you can liquefy carbon dioxide into a liquid, ammonia into liquid ammonia. So sulfur dioxide into liquid sulfur dioxide. Real gases can be liquefied them easily because of the existence of forces of attraction. Since there are no forces of attraction that operating between the two molecules or molecules of the ideal gas, those cannot be liquefied irrespective of the temperature and pressure conditions. Last point, what is this? The existence of totally the ideal gas is hypothetical. That means imaginary. No such gas exists in the universe. Well, coming to the last, all the gases around us, all the gases what we have around us, like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, ammonia, sulfur dioxide, sulfur trioxide, etc., noble gases, those all are real gases. So this completes regarding the retained syllabus of these states of matter. Well, dear students, let me go ahead with the next heading, which has been cancelled, which has removed from the syllabus because of this COVID-19. Well, students, let look at the heading, which is liquefaction of gases. Actually, this is the part which has removed from the states of matter topic. Liquefaction of gases, as I said in the beginning, liquefaction of gases and liquid state, which has totally removed the removed syllabus, the removed part. What this part? It's a removed part from the syllabus. Removed part. This part is not there. You won't get theory questions related to this part, but you will get questions in the competitive exam like KSET, NEET, JEE, etc. Come on, liquefaction of gases. See, you take gas, on cooling a gas, some of the gas are going to liquefy, but not only the temperature is not the sole or a single factor in liquefying a gas, both the temperature as well as the pressure, both are important in liquefying a gas. Suppose if you have taken a gas in a container, so it should be compressed. Parallelly, the temperature is lowered. On lowering a temperature by increasing the pressure, one can liquefy a gas. So under this heading, so we come across three important terms. What those are? One is critical temperature, TC. Critical temperature indicated as TC. Second one is critical pressure, PC, subscript C. And critical volume, VC. So let me cover up the meaning of these ideas so that the part you will get an idea. So what is this critical temperature? Well, dear students, it is the temperature at which the gas first liquefies. So it is the temperature at which the gas liquefies first. Temperature at which gas, it is the temperature, or it is the highest temperature. It is the highest temperature. It is the highest temperature. Let me write highest temperature at which gas first liquefies. At which gas first liquefies. Or it is the temperature, or it is the temperature above which no liquefaction of gases takes place. Above which no liquefaction of gas occurs. Dear students, you have two alternate definitions in getting the meaning of critical temperature Tc. So what is this critical temperature? So it is the temperature, it is the highest temperature at which the gas begin to liquefy, or it is the temperature above which gas can't be liquefied irrespective of the pressure, whatever pressure you take. See, it is the temperature above which no liquefaction of gas occurs, whatever may be the extent of pressure you increase. So that is what regarding the critical temperature Tc. So coming to the critical pressure Pc. What is this critical pressure? The pressure at which gas liquefies, gas begins to liquefy at its critical temperature. So what is this critical pressure Pc? It is the pressure at which gas begins to liquefy, or gas liquefies at its Tc. What is the Tc? Critical temperature. Coming to the third, critical volume. See, what is this critical volume? It is the volume occupied. It is the volume occupied at critical temperature and the critical pressure. The volume occupied by a gas at its critical temperature and the critical pressure is nothing but the critical volume. So these are the three important terms that comes under the heading liquefaction of gases. Critical temperature is the temperature above which no liquefaction of gas occurs, however you increase the pressure. Next, critical pressure, it is the pressure at which the liquefaction of gases occurs at its critical temperature. Coming to the third, critical volume, yes, it is the volume occupied by a amount of gas taken at its critical temperature and the critical pressure. So this completes, actually this is a removed part, cancelled part of the theory, I do repeat. Coming to the next, liquid state. Let's collect important part of the liquid state here. So the very important over which the question has appeared in the competitive examinations, liquid state. Briefly cover on let me cover on or collect ideas on liquid state. Liquid state. As you know, this is also removed part of syllabus. So, what you come across in the liquid state, as dear students, you know, any major three states of matter, solid, liquid and a gas. So, our discussion in this topic is restricted to the gaseous state and the liquid state. Liquid state has totally removed. So far we have collected the laws, the theory, the problems, whatever related to gaseous matter. Then liquid state. See, this liquid state has some of the general characters. As you know, liquids, they do not have a definite shape, but they have a definite volume. So the liquids, they acquire the shape of the container in which they have taken, which is a general point. And liquids, they do have a definite boiling point. They do have a definite boiling point. The liquids are associated with a property like surface tension, viscosity. So these are all the ideas, out of which the very important which we are going to discuss pertaining to liquid state. Come on. One first point is vapor pressure. Vapor pressure. So what is this vapor pressure? One first point is vapor pressure. Well, dear students, it is the pressure exerted over the liquid surface when it is in equilibrium with the liquid. The pressure exerted by the vapors of the liquid when it is in equilibrium with the liquid at a given condition of temperature, what is called vapor pressure. And do remember, this vapor pressure of a liquid is directly proportional to temperature of the liquid. If more the temperature, more is the vapor pressure of a liquid. But I tell you, this vapor pressure and the boiling point, which are inversely proportional to each other. I repeat, what is vapor pressure? The pressure exerted by the vapors of the liquid over the liquid surface when they are in equilibrium with the liquid at a given temperature is the vapor pressure. The vapor pressure of any liquid, that is directly proportional to temperature. More the temperature, more the vapor pressure. Then this vapor pressure and the boiling point and vapor pressure, which are inversely proportional to one another, this point you should know. So if a liquid has more vapor pressure, definitely it is going to boil at low temperature. So if the liquid possesses a lesser vapor pressure, it's going to have higher boiling point. Suppose, for example, if I have taken petrol in a beaker and in another beaker water, which will evaporate first as a common experience. So I have two containers in my hand, taking two liquids into it. In one of the container I have a petrol kept open, in another I have water. Which will get evaporate and which of the beaker will become vacant immediately? It's quite obvious. It's a petrol. The beaker containing the petrol gets vacant, empty. It becomes empty. Why? Because the petrol has more vapor pressure at a given temperature. More the vapor pressure, it gets boils out. So BPT, nothing but boiling point. So this is the point one should remember. Vapor pressure of any liquid is directly proportional to temperature. Then vapor pressure is inversely proportional to the boiling point of a liquid. More the vapor pressure, lower the boiling point. Lesser the vapor pressure, more is the boiling point. Well, next point I do take. What is that next point? Let me take on boiling point. Well, dear students, you know, with respect to boiling point, any liquid you take liquid water, you take kerosene, you take petrol, you take benzene, acetone, any of the liquid, they do have a definite boiling point. So what is this boiling point? Well, you know, it is the temperature. It is the temperature at which the vapor pressure of liquid, it is the temperature at which vapor pressure of the liquid that becomes equal to atmospheric pressure. The vapor pressure of the liquid becomes equal to atmospheric pressure. Well, dear students, if I ask you a question, what is the boiling point of water? You say 100 degrees Celsius. Why water boils at 100? Why not above which? Why not below 100 degrees Celsius? It is because of the reason when the water is heated, when a heat is supplied to a water, so when it reaches 100 degrees Celsius, what happens? The vapor pressure of the water becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure. See, when vapor, not only water, when the vapor pressure of any liquid, when it becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure, surrounding pressure, then at that temperature the liquid begins to boil, and that temperature what is called boiling point of that liquid. As it is clear, the boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius. That means when water is heated till 100 degrees Celsius, at 100 degrees Celsius, the vapor pressure of the water becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure. That is why water boils at 100 degree. If I take ethanol, C2H5OH, which appears like water, but it won't boil at 100, but it boils at 70 plus, 75 degrees Celsius. Why ethanol boils at 75 degrees Celsius? It is because when ethanol is heated to 75 degrees Celsius, the boiling point of ethanol, the vapor pressure of ethanol at 75 become equal to atmospheric pressure. That's why it begins to boil at that temperature. So this is what regarding the boiling point. Coming to the next important part, which is surface tension. One more property of the liquid, which is surface tension. So what is this surface tension? It is the force acting perpendicular. It is the force per unit length. It is the force per unit length. Force per unit length. Force per unit length acting perpendicular to the line drawn on the surface of liquid. So there are so many activities we come across which are natural occurring phenomena where they are related to surface tension. See, the rising of a liquid when in a capillary tube, it is because of the property of surface tension. And in biologically, plants, each and every plant, they do get the water through their roots. It is by the capillary action. The capillary action of water, it is because of the property called surface tension. So what is this surface tension? It is the force per unit. It is the force per unit length acting perpendicular to the line drawn on the surface of a liquid. And this surface tension is what is called is directly proportional to temperature. Surface tension is directly proportional to temperature. Hope you know so many activities. Sorry, not directly. Let me write. Surface tension is inversely proportional to temperature. Make it very clear. Surface tension is inversely proportional to temperature. Lesser the temperature, more the surface tension of a liquid. And what is the unit of surface tension? See, this is the force acting per unit length. As per the definition, one should conclude SI unit of surface tension is, what is the SI unit of surface tension? It is the force. We know the SI unit of force is Newton. Acting per unit length to perpendicular to the line drawn on the surface of a liquid per unit length. Therefore, the SI unit of surface tension is Newton per meter. What is the SI unit of surface tension? It is Newton per meter as per the definition. The last one, property related to liquid state is the viscosity. See, what is this viscosity? It is the resistance. Viscosity. What is that viscosity? See, the liquids, they do possess a property called viscosity. What is that viscosity? It is the resistance for the flow of liquid, where one layer which opposes for the another layer to flow continuously. What is this as per the definition? The resistance for the free flow of liquid by one layer over the another, one layer over the another. So the actual definition you will get if you refer. So the resistance for the free flow of a liquid by one layer of liquid over the another, that is called viscosity. See, more the viscosity, lesser the flow, or lesser the viscosity, more is the flow. If I take water and a glycerol, say water has a lesser viscosity, therefore it flow very freely, and glycerol has more viscosity and that can't flow very freely. And regarding its factor viscosity, see this viscosity is directly proportional to the temperature. Viscosity is directly proportional to the temperature. And this is viscosity which is directly proportional to intermolecular forces. See, more the intermolecular forces between the molecules, more the intermolecular forces, more is the viscosity. Lesser the intermolecular forces, lesser is the viscosity. So these are the points pertaining to the last property of a liquid, what is called viscosity. So what is the SI unit of viscosity, which is Pascal second. SI unit of viscosity is Pascal second. Pascal, you know, or Pascal is nothing but Newton per meter square, Pascal second, Newton per meter square second. So this is the SI unit of viscosity. So here we have glanced on the removed part of the syllabus, such as over the properties of liquids, Vp, Bpt, surface tension, viscosity. Come on, let me conclude today's class, and it is the last class over the states of matter. Thank you.